at Leeds versus Southampton. I find this a tough game to call. Leeds are available at 2.08, very sure for a team in Leeds' current form. Southampton 3.9. The draw is 3.7. Both teams to score yes is 1.89, and no is available at 2.08. The Asian handicap line sees Southampton get half a goal start at 1.89, and the total in this game is 2.5, shaded a bit towards the under. So, Adrian, take it away. You never got a chance to talk on air about Nathan Jones' fleeting appearance as Southampton manager. One of these that was appointed to take them down or keep them up, but is sacked before they go down. Sort of. There's been a few of those appointments over the years. He's definitely at the top of the list. Anyway.
Yeah, I felt for him really. It just didn't. The supporters didn't take to him at all, and yeah, I think he was just talking too much really in the end, Nathan, and results weren't going their way. He's a very, very good coach, and he'll come again. But it just feels like it wasn't the right fit at the right club at the right time. Obviously, Celes came in last weekend and masterminded a great 1-0 win at Chelsea. So kudos to him. He wants the gig, we're led to believe. And to get it, he'll probably need a positive result at Leeds, won't he? This is a hard game to call because these are two pretty poor sides, and whichever way you look at the numbers, it's hard to find that many positives. I was tinkering with BTTS no here because, you know, Leeds have had a few blanks and so too have Southampton over the course of the season. And with it being such a high pressure, high stakes game, I don't see it being a free for all. I think it'll be quite nervy and cagey. But I've landed on Leeds actually in the end, all things said and done. I look at their lineup. I look at their forward line with Nonto and Somerville and Harrison in behind Bamford. Even though they were pretty abject against Everton last weekend, at home at Ellen Road, they're usually on it. Backed by a fired up crowd. Okay, Javi Gracia might be in charge. He might not. We don't know what the work permit issue, when that approval will come through. Whether he's in charge or not, I think there could be a new manager bounce. Certainly a bit more excitement around the ground, even if Gracia isn't the guy that anyone foresaw or particularly wanted. I still think it's a change, and I think that the players will be pumped up to impress him and to get the crowd going. And I don't trust Southampton's defence. Maitland-Niles had a good game the other day at right back, but I've never been a huge fan of his in terms of his defending, especially in concentration. So Nonto up against him, I think, is a duel Leeds would potentially win. So look, the stats will tell you that Leeds have struggled struggled to score goals of late, certainly struggled to keep clean sheets, but it's more of a hunch than anything. What I will say is that Leeds are unbeaten at home this season, despite having a nightmare campaign. They're unbeaten at home to sides outside of the top six. So they've not had an absolute shocker in front of their own fans against a team outside of the top six. So that gives me confidence to support Leeds United here. Home advantage, new manager, and I think they've got the firepower to hurt the Saints, who, let's face it, without James Ward-Prowse and his free kicks, aren't offering a great deal, are they, going forward? Who would you bank on to deliver for them? We've got two new strikers. We don't know much about them yet in terms of what they can do in the Premier League. If Ward-Prowse doesn't do it for them, who is? So, yeah, it's Leeds for me.
Okay, Leeds is the selection at 2.08. And Mark, you have put in under 2.5 goals here, which is the third under 2.5 goals shout in 4 games. We're trying to sell this Premier League weekend to our viewers and listeners, Mark. But Mark is outside the Arsenal game predicting dull encounters throughout the card.
Yeah, I found this the most difficult of the 4 games we're going to cover. Massive match at the bottom. I would probably go against Adrian in the fact that I find it hard to back Leeds at those prices. They have generated the better metrics throughout the campaign. We've talked about them putting in positive performances but not getting results, and that's highlighted by their issues in both boxes. Not really a happy marriage, and not really why I'd want to be backing them at those prices, considering they've won just 4 games in 23 all season, haven't won in the Premier League since early November. I do think the Javi Gracia appointment is a positive, a bonus. I think he'll do pretty well. But the goals have dried up recently, failed to score on 4 of their last 5. The last week's performance at Everton was almost disgraceful, to be honest, considering the magnitude of that match. So there's a lot of work to be done, considering that scale of performance. And their Ellen Road efforts haven't been that great either recently, which is kind of concerning. Saints have been better away from home in terms of results. I'm not sure necessarily performances are borne out that way, but you're right, Adrian. Like, without Ward-Prowse, they wouldn't beat Chelsea. They wouldn't beat Everton recently either. So they could even be in a worse position than they already are. They're in bottom 3 for sort of chance creation and XG numbers as well. So they're not doing a huge amount outside of his expertise either. This just feels like a tight, scrappy, horrible game where the draw is a big runner. And therefore unders appeals to me. But what did stand out to me actually, Leeds' last 4 matches have averaged just 2.2 XG, and their last 8 games have averaged just 2.37 XG, which is quite a decent dip on what their season-long matches are averaging, which is around 2.88 expected goals. Does show things have been a little bit tighter in both boxes. And actually, it's a similar story for Southampton with 2.24 expected goals over the last 4 and 2.29 over the last 8. So neither of these have been involved in hugely expansive encounters recently. Chuck in the 6-pointer scenario. If you think the draw might be a bit of a runner, I always think unders is possibly the one to look at, because it does get you on side of a tight, narrow win for either team as well. So, yeah, but it's not a strong view at all. It's a dreadful match to try and preview.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Who picked this?
Sorry
game?
for bringing it up. I just thought it was such a big game that we had to talk about it. But yeah, it's, in terms of fun and anger, it's a toughie.
Look, Adrian, I enjoy your picks throughout over the last few weeks and months, but I can't get on board with Leeds at 2.08 at all, to be honest. Haven't watched them. My dad's a big Leeds fan, so I do watch them a lot. I'm going to lock in under 2.5. I know, Mark, you aren't that confident, but I do like that shout at 1.89. But Adrian's selection, again, as I've touched on, will be available on Matchbook Insights. And then just a quick recap of what we've gone with on the podcast. The under 2.5 goals at 1.89 Leeds versus Southampton. Went with Mark's selection again. Arsenal over 1.5 Leicester versus Arsenal. Tottenham and under 4.5 goals versus Chelsea for Adrian at 2.84, and under 2.5 goals in the Carabao Cup final 1.85. Insights.matchbook.com, as I've already mentioned. That'll be available Thursday afternoon, and we do see a lot of those people going to that on the Saturday and Sundays, and to just get a recap of the bets. So do check that out.